Imagine a time when clouds were born with dreams as vast as the sky itself, and each wisp of white carried within it the power to transform worlds. High above the bustling streets of Mumbai, where the Arabian Sea meets the endless horizon, there lived a little cloud named Puff. He was no ordinary cloud, mind you. Puff was soft as cotton candy, white as fresh jasmine petals, and small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, if clouds could be held. But Puff carried within his fluffy heart a fear so deep it made him tremble against the warm monsoon winds. You see, Puff was terrified of rain. Not the gentle patter you hear on your window, but the very act of becoming rain himself. Every time the older clouds around him began to darken and grow heavy, Puff would float away as fast as his little form could carry him. He believed, with all his cloudy heart, that if he rained, he would disappear forever, dissolving into nothingness like sugar in hot chai. Day after day, Puff drifted aimlessly across the sky, watching the world below with curious eyes. The sun blazed mercilessly, turning the once green fields into patches of cracked brown earth. The mango trees that should have been heavy with fruit stood bare and thirsty. Children in the villages below looked up at the sky with hopeful eyes, their small hands cupped as if ready to catch the first precious drops. But Puff floated on, too afraid to help. One particularly scorching afternoon, as the heat shimmered like invisible waves across the parched landscape, Puff encountered Grandpa Sky. Now, Grandpa Sky wasn't really a cloud at all. He was the vast, endless blue that held all clouds in his gentle embrace. His voice was like the whisper of wind through ancient banyan trees, deep and comforting. "Little Puff," Grandpa Sky said, his voice echoing softly around the frightened cloud. "Why do you run from your greatest gift?" Puff's edges quivered with emotion. "Grandpa Sky, if I rain, won't I disappear? Won't I become nothing at all?" Grandpa Sky chuckled, a sound like distant thunder on a peaceful evening. "Ho ho, my dear little cloud, you have it all backwards. When you rain, you don't disappear. You become everything. You become the laughter of children splashing in puddles, the relief in a farmer's eyes, the song of peacocks dancing in the fields." Puff looked down at the world below. A small girl sat by a dried-up well, her mother beside her, both gazing hopefully at the sky. A farmer knelt in his withered field, running dry soil through his weathered fingers. Even the sparrows had stopped chirping, too tired from the relentless heat. But Puff floated on, too afraid to help. "But what if I am not enough?" Puff whispered. "What if my rain is too little to make a difference?" Grandpa Sky's presence grew warmer around him. "Every great monsoon begins with one single drop, little one. Every river starts with one brave cloud willing to let go." Something stirred deep within Puff's cottony heart. He thought of all the times he had floated past thirsty flowers, past children with upturned faces, past fields crying out for relief. He had been so focused on preserving himself that he had forgotten why clouds existed in the first place. Slowly, deliberately, Puff began to gather moisture from the air around him. He felt himself growing heavier, denser, more purposeful. His white fluffiness began to take on a gentle grey hue, like the soft color of dawn breaking over the western Ghats. And then, something remarkable happened. The first drop formed at the very center of Puff's being. It was perfect, round and crystal clear, holding within it all of Puff's love for the world below. With a deep breath that sounded like wind through coconut palms, Puff released it. The drop fell like a tiny shooting star, catching the sunlight as it tumbled toward earth. It landed with the softest splash on the upturned face of the little girl by the well. She gasped with joy, her eyes wide with wonder. "Mama, it's raining!" she cried, and her voice carried such pure happiness that Puff felt his fear melting away like ice in summer heat. More drops followed, each one carrying a piece of Puff's essence, his love, his purpose. The rain began as a gentle sprinkle, then grew into a steady, nourishing shower. The parched earth drank deeply, releasing that beautiful smell of wet soil that we call petrichor, the earth's way of saying thank you. But here's the magical part. And listen carefully, because this is where the real wonder begins. As Puff rained, he didn't disappear at all. Instead, he became part of everything he touched. He became the green shoots pushing up through the grateful soil. He became the sweet water filling the village well. He became the joyful laughter of children running through puddles, their feet splashing in what had once been his cloudy form. The mango trees straightened their branches and began to bud. The peacocks spread their magnificent tails and danced in celebration. The farmer stood in his field, arms raised to the sky, tears of gratitude mixing with the rain on his weathered cheeks. And Puff, oh wonderful Puff, discovered something extraordinary. The more he gave of himself, the more complete he felt. Each raindrop that fell carried his love to the world, and in return, the world's gratitude rose back up to him like invisible threads of connection. As the shower continued, other clouds began to join in. They had been watching Puff's transformation, and his courage inspired them to overcome their own fears. Soon the entire sky was alive with the music of rain, a symphony of giving and receiving that echoed across the land. When the rain finally stopped and the sun peeked through the clearing clouds, Puff looked down at the transformed world below. Everything was green and alive and singing with joy. The air smelled of jasmine and wet earth and new beginnings. "Do you see now, little one?" Grandpa Sky asked gently. Puff, now lighter but somehow more substantial than ever, smiled with understanding. "I see, Grandpa Sky. I was never meant to stay the same forever. I was meant to become something beautiful." And so Puff learned the greatest lesson of all, that true purpose isn't found in holding on to what we are, but in becoming what the world needs us to be. He discovered that love isn't diminished when it's shared, it multiplies like ripples in a pond, touching everything it reaches. From that day forward, whenever the earth grew thirsty, whenever children looked up at the sky with hopeful eyes, whenever farmers knelt in their fields and whispered prayers for rain, Puff was ready. He had learnt that the greatest magic isn't in staying safe and unchanged, but in having the courage to transform, to give of yourself so completely that you become part of something infinitely more beautiful than you ever imagined possible. And if you listen carefully on the next rainy day, when the drops patter against your window like tiny messengers of joy, you might just hear the echo of Puff's laughter, reminding you that sometimes the most beautiful thing you can do is let go and become